Welcome back, everybody, to the Derby City Fandom podcast. Today, we are dipping back into DC. I don't think we've had to talk about the DC universe since the Penguin came out, but we had another really good entry with Superman.
The Man of Steel.
Well, that's a different movie entirely. We're
Well-
talking about Superman 2025.
He is known as the Man of Steel, just saying.
He is.
I mean, were you guys more excited to see Superman or the dog?
Or the what?
The
Crypto.
Dog. The dog. Crypto.
Probably the dog.
I saw that one coming.
Yeah, so I get a feeling I know where Colin's going to go with this film.
I assume Colin hates everything, so I assume you hated it.
Hey, whoa.
Hate is a strong word. Critical, though, is a bit more accurate.
I would say critical. I did not hate the film.
We're always the opposite, man. I kind of liked it, so
Yeah, I mean, so did I, but it definitely had problems, and we'll go into that. This film had a lot of build-up.
sorry, it's raining outside.
Yeah, so sudden rain. This film had a lot of build-up and a lot of, I guess, press beforehand. Like, there were a lot of, like, teaser segments released all towards, like, the beginning of the film, so it didn't really spoil anything with the plot, which is why a lot of people were excited to see the dog, because Crypto was a lot of the pre-release kind of material out there, right?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of what am I trying to say? A lot of ads for it at the beginning of 2025. There's talks and rumors of what's going to happen, this, that, and the other, and then they finally release a trailer during the Super Bowl for 2025, and then that's when the anticipation for this particular film just skyrocketed, I guess.
Yeah, I remember that one being really big, and then it was like either like San Diego Comic-Con or like a PAX East sort of thing where they showed off like the first like 8 minutes of the film, so, like straight up.
Yeah, and that pretty much was basically the beginning of the film where they're at the Fortress of Solitude and we are introduced to a dog.
Yes, Crypto.
Crypto, right.
So did that work for you all? That part of the plot? And what I mean by that is, would have preferred another origin story, or did you guys enjoy that it was already kind of established in the world?
I like that they don't cater to people who aren't familiar with Superman.
Yeah.
It's like they don't spend much time on it. You are exposed to like his Kryptonian parents, which is a bit newer because I think Henry Cavill's Superman movie dabbled in it a little bit, but it wasn't like a huge focus or anything. That one kind of focused on like his origin stories, like growing up in Smallville, his father dying or his adopted father dying, at least, like in the tornado scene that everybody's just like, why didn't you just save him? kind of thing.
Right.
That's its own can of worms. But if the comparison between the two films is inevitable, right? But before we get too deep in the weeds of plot, Colin, your favorite part?
My favorite part, indeed. So, this Superman film for 2025 IMDb score was a 7.5 out of 10.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes had it at a whopping 83%.
I think that's a bit closer to what I would put it at. It's a
7.5 seems low. 83 seems high. I'm
Okay.
going somewhere in the middle. I'm
Yep.
splitting the difference.
So what, 80?
Sure.
I think that's fair.
Sure.
It is worth the watch. I would actually not mind watching it again, frankly.
It has some things going for it.
Yeah.
I'd be curious on Colin's criticisms, but I think this film has some things going for it.
Now, we can, before we dive into the plot, we can go into that as well. One of the things I think this has going for it is that they casted everybody actually pretty well.
Yep.
Lex Luthor is like easily the best representation he's had since the animated stuff.
Interesting.
Like he doesn't come off as just like a weird goofball.
Well, I definitely okay. Okay, that's fair. I'm trying to think of like the previous castings for Lex Luthor and what's his name? Was it Jesse Eisenberg or whatever?
Yes.
I freaking he sucked.
He was not.
He was horrible. So yeah,
He had
I'll
one
give
hell
it
of an
to
audition or something because I would not have put him in that role.
no. So yeah, out of all the Lex Luthors, I would say that Nicholas Holt. That's the actor's name, right? Nicholas Holt.
We can
Yes.
scroll down, I
Yeah.
believe so. Yes.
Yes. I would say he did a better job. Yes. However, there are some criticisms in regards to the antagonist for the movie, but we can get into that here shortly.
Okay.
But we can start off with the good things about the movie. We can start on a good note. What do you all think?
I think I'll go first here. I don't think the movie's great. It's not super.
Pun intended.
The pun intended there. It's not super, but it's pretty darn good. I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know if I went in with lower expectations, but I overall really enjoyed it, and
Mhm.
I really truly do mean it has some things going for it. I love the casting. I thought they did a good job there. You could tell that they spent some serious time on the plot and the writing behind it,
Mhm.
which I appreciate. And you can kind of compare that to Marvel, and they just started off really well.
Yeah.
So the plot, it was overall made. The one thing that I appreciate that they went with was, for me, it seemed like DC went through this era of kind of gritty, dark and gritty, where this one's a little bit more comic book, a lot of color, a lot of character,
Mhm.
fun. It just kind of resembled a comic book on the screen to
Sure.
me.
That was always Superman's kind of style, just as a comic, because Metropolis is a bright and shiny. Everything is like kind of chromed sort of city. It's supposed to be like the very like white collar kind of stuff going on versus like
hmm
your Gotham. That's always the comparison.
hmm
And I want to say that era of DC we're just talking about was really just trying to recapture the Dark Knight kind of feel because those
Yeah.
were arguably the best DC live action films that had been out for, the better part of a decade.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, to your point, Kenny, I'd watch it again. So whatever releases on streaming, I'll probably watch it again. But with that said, like I don't want to oversell it. So the immediate question for me was like, is this going to compete against the Marvel universe? Like, is this going to start a huge franchise? I don't know. I think that's to be determined. Like, I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's Iron Man level,
Yeah,
but it's still pretty good.
it definitely comes off as a James Gunn film.
Yeah.
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 I agree with that.
Everything
And that's not
aside,
necessarily a bad
that
thing,
ain't a bad
right?
thing.
It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Definitely different than Schneider.
Yeah. And I don't know. You compare it to Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, you got to give it to Guardian of the Galaxy, right? I would.
Hmm.
If you had to compare the two, I just don't think it's still in the same ballpark as some of the Marvel films that we love. But it doesn't mean it's bad.
No, DC doesn't need to be Marvel. DC needs to be DC, right? Because the people that are going to see these films are like superhero movie fans.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you can categorize us down into like, okay, we're Marvel heads or we're DC heads or whatever, like, super fans.
And I had going back to the start of the film, I had a lot of appreciation that it wasn't an origin story, that they kind of went off running. Like all the characters were established and
Yeah.
it didn't need to be a backstory. So you said it right, Kenny, where it wasn't really designed for newbies to come in and get the explanation of what's going on. They did a pretty good job where you could piece it together. Like I'm not the most familiar with DC, but
So, like,
you know enough to get by and
the
enjoy it.
Superman origin story, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, there's been so many Superman films that have come out over the years, if you're not at least somewhat familiar with his origin story,
You've had to
you've
have
been
been under a
you're
rock.
living under a rock exactly this entire time. So like, yes, I agree for the most part with what Jake said. You don't need an origin story for Superman all the time. You
Nope.
can just jump right in and, do another storyline along with that, whether it's,
Hmm.
comic book accurate, or even if you just want to throw your own little spin on it, that's fine. As long as it's entertaining and it catches the audience's attention and that kind of thing. Um, but, and to kind of to disagree, not kind of, totally disagree with what Jake just said, there were characters that not everybody knew about. And what I'm getting at is one particular character is Hot Girl.
You were going with Hot Girl. Okay, I thought you were going to go with the Guy Gardner
Well, even that.
because
But
that is a wildly different Green
so
Lantern than most people are
so
familiar with.
people are the only reason people are familiar with the Green Lantern is because of freaking Ryan Reynolds movie way back in the day,
Hmm.
whenever that freaking came out. God awful, but at least people know about the character, and
Yeah, it
rather
was a placeholder film.
right. And so rather they saw the movie or not, I think his portrayal of the character it wasn't serious. It was more of a joking, like it was laugh out loud,
Hmm.
honest to God, just terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah,
I did not appreciate that film at all. Um,
but anyways, back to Hot Girl.
right. So moving on to her, you you can't really bring in a character for the first time ever on freaking a big screen and essentially have people like want to get to know somebody, like want to care for that particular character. You know what I mean? So like either there should have been like a solo film for that particular character, or at least give us some background on that particular character in the movie so that the audience can at least have a little bit of relationship with that particular character.
Sure. Now, the relationship that I guess we get is basically established in like the opening kind of, I don't want to call it like the credit roll, but just like, text across the screen being like, okay, metahumans have started to appear. We've established contact with other alien races.
Right.
Like groups have been formed. There's a particular one that's the strongest of all. His name is Superman. That was like the backstory that we got. His origin story. It's just like, okay, he exists. He's the strongest, and he grew up in a small town in Kansas. So it's like, good old wholesome Superman. And then they just roll with it. Hot Girl doesn't get that treatment. I would you know off the top of your head, just from watching this film, that she's technically an alien and not a metahuman?
Yes. No, I wouldn't. No,
Like, it's never brought up because
no.
she has maybe 8 lines, but when you're almost poking fun at like an entire film franchise, because he's just like, oh, we're the Justice Gang. It's like, that name sucks. And like everybody in the background is just like, guy, you're dumb. We're never going to go by that name. And then he just keeps trying to push it. Uh, just kind of poking fun at the Justice League films, just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But we don't really need the origin stories for Hot Girl or Mr. Terrific or Guy Gardner.
I feel like I agree with Colin, but he picked the wrong character. I feel like they use Mr. Terrific quite a bit in this film. and they probably could have better
Well,
connected that.
he was
but-
the smart guy that could fix the problems,
I
right?
know,
He
but
was the only
still,
one that was like level-headed.
But still, like it seemed like he was very crucial in this movie, and it's just kind of like, oh, that's perfect. There's a guy who just solves anything and everything, and we'll just plug him
Okay,
in.
fine. That's only proving my point. I picked the wrong character. So the fuck what? You can't really have the only main characters in the DC universe be freaking Wonder Woman, freaking Batman, and Superman, and those are pretty much it. Because
I mean,
that's
they are the most marketable, and they will always be the ones. But there's a wider universe. I agree with you.
right. So why not explore that universe further and make
Yeah,
solo films
I hear
for
you.
those maybe minor league characters, if you will?
Sure,
Freaking let's
it's like
because
they
I mean,
have like
look at Marvel. I know we keep doing this back and forth banter between Marvel and DC, and like
it's
in one hand
unavoidable.
you can't really compare the two, but on the other hand you kind of have to. Like you have these main characters in the DC universe, but there's a broad more sense of characters in that universe, and freaking Marvel has gone beyond scope with all the characters in that universe. So like yeah, I know it's basically they're trying to compete with one another. Like they did the whole freaking like phase 1, phase 2, and whatever 15 phases we're in fucking now.
Sure,
Do the same kind of thing with DC, but
that
at least have a
requires
little more respect for the freaking product you're putting out there. Because like Marvel, they just shoved a bunch, especially in the past like 1 to 2 years, they just shoved a bunch of shit down our throats.
sure.
Rather, that's like some mini series or a movie.
I
Like, no, that's not the way to go about it. Actually, take the time to invest in a particular character and then give it to the people, give them what they want.
yeah,
Do the
no,
Yeah,
same thing with DC.
I hear you, Colin. I think if you separate the two things out, like this movie as a movie itself was pretty good, but if you're kind of comparing in the lens of viewing in the lens of is this going to compete to like a broader or create a broader universe for DC? Like it falls short to that.
sure. Now, granted, if DC were to try to go the Marvel route,
I mean, that's what they
they're
They already tried.
like.
well, it's
That's
like the yes, they've already tried.
but
It's
that's what
like
they
they're
want,
about like
Kenny.
15 years too late for them to like basically
I know,
start over again.
but that's what they want, though. So like,
Oh yeah,
But
why?
that's what they're doing with Marvel now, man. They literally, Kevin Feige came out and said they're starting over as soon as this freaking new phase is over. They're freaking starting over with a new freaking bunch of bullshit because they're gonna bring in the X-Men freaking characters after Secret Wars and all that shit. Kevin Feige came out and said, we rushed this. We shouldn't have done it this way. We basically did shove a bunch of content down people's throats." He literally came out and said that recently on a freaking post, social media post. He rushed it all.
sure. Now, I agree with you. There's a handful of other DC stuff that they've like come out and have been like their own thing. Do you remember that Blue Beetle film? I remember it actually being pretty good. I think that was also another James Gunn film.
It was.
So, who knows? Maybe like, Blue Beetle's doing his little thing
And guess what,
and
Kenny?
his like little
Guess what? Nobody talked about it as soon as it came out, and we ourselves didn't even do a podcast on it
true.
because
Because
it
I'm pretty
wasn't
sure
that freaking great.
it wasn't that freaking great. But neither is this film, quite frankly. It's just that it has Superman's name on it, and more people know who Superman is versus, blue bug themed Iron Man guy from South America.
Yeah, if I keep going back to this. If you go into this wanting to enjoy a Superman movie, I think you'll enjoy it. I enjoyed it. But if you go into it with the lens of hopeful that there's going to be this broader universe with the DC characters, which I think that's kind of where Colin's going down, it falls way short. So I guess it just depends on the audience of like what you go to this movie to see, like what you want out of it. Like, do you want to just enjoy a good Superman movie?
Yeah.
And then I think it's pretty good. But if you're going into like, yeah, I'm excited to see like DC to get rebooted and like build something cooler and greater and have some cool writing and bring in more characters, it does fall short.
Sure. Granted, if this were to be the big start of something, right?
I mean, like that's what they wanted, though, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah,
That's where they're going with it.
that's where they're trying to. But
Yeah.
it's like also it's like we're seeing the beginning of it. Like James Gunn's, I guess, vision for DC or whatever hasn't been like fully like fleshed out because like we saw what Snyder tried to do. We saw what uh, Nolan basically inspired everybody else to try.
So what's the next one for them then? Do we know?
Um, no, we don't actually know yet, but it's probably going to go in that Justice League uh realm of things. Because I think it has been confirmed that Nathan Fillion, who played the Green Lantern, is actually going to be in the next project. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. As a whole, I'll put this out there, Nathan Fillion, I think actually did a remarkable job playing Green Lantern.
Yes.
Um, obviously better than Ryan Reynolds. Fact. Um,
That didn't take
I
much effort.
one of the things I did enjoy about that film was the Green Lantern. I can say that publicly now. That particular
Uh,
version of Green Lantern I did enjoy.
and you're
When
you're a fan of the Green Lantern that's an
no,
asshole.
I said well, yeah, but that version of Green Lantern, Nathan Fillion's version of the Green Lantern, I did enjoy, not Ryan Reynolds.
Sure. Oh gosh. We haven't even started talking about the plot really, which is crazy. That might be a new record for us. Hell. But yeah, so we're introduced to like the opening scenes where it's like we learn about the metahumans and we learn that Superman's the strongest of them all. And then we're immediately told that he just lost, which
Just
is
got defeated.
wild because, depending on like what chunk of lore you want to go into, he doesn't really lose often. And when he loses, he gets beat bad.
Yep.
So, like, most of his losses are due to like Dark Side or Doomsday comes to mind. But he just gets basically kicked in the teeth by some random guy called the Hammer of Borvaria, right? And we go through the whole rigmarole of like, okay, should Superman have as much global influence as he does? And that's kind of like the big sticking plot point for the film, as we later find out.
Yeah, they dive right in, right? So he loses, and then they're talking about there's this ongoing debate, I guess, amongst the humans, planet Earth, because he prevents a war. So he's doing it for the benefit of mankind, like to stop the killing. But then other people are like, "Hey, you don't really
Like,
like this. Is not how this works."
you don't take sides, and like in your case, you're not supposed to.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But we see all that happen, and I guess we're introduced to the Fortress of Solitude scene. Like when
That's
he crash
beautiful.
lands,
Yeah.
we see Crypto come out
Yeah.
to nobody's surprise because he was in all of the marketing. And Crypto, despite being like a Kryptonian dog, is still very much a dog and has dog-like mannerisms.
Yep.
So we see how well that works out for Superman because Crypto doesn't particularly listen to him, and we find out later why. But we're introduced to his little squad of robots that are all named after their numerical number, and we're introduced to the most important plot point that comes up, and it's the recording of his parents that was damaged
That's
in the crossroad in the
that was Bradley Cooper, right?
Bradley Cooper. Yep.
yeah, Bradley Cooper and Angela Serafin,
Yep.
being Jor-El and Lara. But apparently those robots are super dead set that okay, this message is what soothes him. It calms him down, right? And it's I guess they just have this on like on repeat in the background or whatever, right? And we see him heal back up with the solar radiation. Very comic book, like that's how Superman works. And like all he needs is a sun nearby and he'll heal up. That's his shtick.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes back to Metropolis and gets beaten up again by the hammer. They basically do like a zoom out, and we see that Lex Luthor is behind it,
Yeah.
and his little squad of what I can best describe as tech bro interns.
Yeah. There's some like evil tech bro intern thing going on, and they're controlling Hammer
It definitely
with
comes off
like
as
this
very
video game Mortal Kombat kind of style moves, like controlling him with predicting
yeah,
what
it's just
Superman's
like
moves are going to be, which is kind
yeah,
of interesting. It's kind of cool. I like. I see it.
and they
I
explained
liked
that
all
part
that part.
pretty well. It was like okay, Lex Luthor has studied every move
Yeah.
that Superman has ever done and is able to pretty accurately, at least at this point in the film, like predict what he's about to do and then can, like, bark out an order to one of the cronies to
Counterattack.
do a counterattack. And it's very effective.
Yeah.
But this comes into, I guess, some of the outside meta narrative. This came off as like, okay, like they're trying to poke fun at like Elon Musk and his like random like cult following that he has for being
Yeah.
some rich guy with a lot of tech.
Yeah. We don't have to go down
We won't
that
because
plot.
it's made very obvious.
There's very obvious some very political
Yeah,
intertwines in this movie, so we don't have to go down those rabbit
well,
holes.
not yet at least. It's unavoidable, right? Because they
It's
bring some of it up later on.
it's very prevalent in this
Very,
movie.
very prevalent. So I guess go into this film with that in mind. It's very modern in its themings, let's say.
Yeah.
But we see him get beat up pretty bad, and Lex had sent out one of his, I guess, metahuman slash augmented allies, the engineer. They never call her the engineer, but the nano machine lady
Mm-hmm.
is called the engineer in the comics. Um, and she's a superhero technically, but in this film, she's working for Lex. So, whatever. Most people had no idea who she was prior to this, anyways. So, shrug.
This is true. One of my other criticisms, but we'll keep going.
We'll keep going. Uh, but then we get the interactions between Superman and Lois Lane. So we've already have the established lore that okay, Clark Kent's working for the Daily Bugle. He's already kind of going out loosely with Lois Lane and is offering to do an interview about the whole experience in Bavaria, right? And Lois Lane like teases him a little bit because Clark Kent got an exclusive Superman interview with himself, so it's just like the answers to the questions, the
everything.
questions before they happen. It's just like that's not really how journalism works.
No.
And
not.
so then when she starts doing the interview with him, he gets really irate with her, being like, people were going to die. What did you want me to do?
Yeah.
So we can kind of see their relationship being strained at this point, right? And from there, we also see that with the hammer slash Ultraman, as we find out, uh, Lex Luthor and the engineer all go to the Fortress of Solitude to try to dig up some dirt on Superman to make him look bad. Because the best way to deal with Superman is to ruin his public image, apparently. And it's quite effective. So they break in, the engineer makes short work of, frankly, everything in there. Ultraman doesn't really even do anything.
Nope.
And they break most, if not all, the robots, leaving a couple like damaged enough that Superman can find and have like a final like conversation with a couple of them, right? They take the dog, which we find out Superman really doesn't like,
Yeah.
and they come across the recording.
Most importantly,
Most importantly, they come across the recording from his parents, and the engineer recognizes that it's damaged, but through the nanomachine, she's able to repair it and get the full message. So while all that's going on, Lex Luthor has also released some like weird little gremlin kaiju thing that is like the size of like a toddler that then overnight grows to be the size of like a skyscraper, which is funny. But we see then the Justice Gang show up, right?
Yep.
And again, we see Mr. Terrific basically solving all of the problems despite Gardner, Green Lantern, having basically the ability to do all of this themselves. And it goes about as well as you think. Superman does end up joining, trying to, like, save literally everything from the squirrels to the small kids to a handful of other stuff, right? And that part comes off as kind of extra. It's like, man, you're really going out of your way to save the squirrel?
They're building character.
Building character, right? So like, oh, all life is precious, including the little rodent over here.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. I can see Colin bubbling for his moment, but we'll keep going. So while he's distracted, they fix the recording and they play it to all of the world media. Like we hear the first half where it's like, oh, like, you're our precious son, we love you, live a good life. And then we get part two, which is like, oh, conquer the planet,
Take many wives.
take many wives, like, reestablish the Kryptonian race.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do for Krypton. And would you believe me if I told you guys that the public did not take that very lightly?
I'd believe you.
Because that's exactly what happens. They, like, without even much thought, immediately turn on him. Which is wild, how quick that turnaround was. Colin, I think it's your turn. I can see it.
Well, I mean, let's take a step back. So the whole monologue between Lois and Superman where they're doing the interview. I know we're going backwards, but
That's fine. It's worth bringing up.
Yeah, how he basically interviewed himself, that whatever, basically knowing the answers to the questions before you even ask him. I get that 100%. The monologue, I will say, between those two, like you all said, he did get irate. So actually, I did enjoy that little monologue between those two where they're going back and forth, and she's asking
Honest questions.
the hard questions.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so, like you just said, Kenny, a few minutes ago, like people were going to die. What the hell would you expect me to do? You're Superman, freaking do what you gotta do, man. Whatever you feel, you do what you feel is right.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I agree. But somebody has to hold him accountable too at the same time if he crosses that line. And so who would be able to hold him accountable? That's kind of
Well, apparently it is the U.S. government, because
right.
in that entire conversation. While Superman does not represent the U.S. government, he's a U.S. citizen because he grew up in Kansas and considers himself like, a Kansas boy.
Right.
So,
So, with that being said, and this does apply a little bit to today's world,
mhm.
the U.S. government has an agenda.
Really?
Yeah. So, I agree that the U.S. government should have hold him accountable for the extremes, right? But at the same time, I feel like maybe a world council, if you will, should be implemented
Like a league of sorts, you think, of justice.
of justice, right?
Mm.
Something to that effect.
Or a gang, some might even say.
Right. To basically, keep people in check.
Hmm.
And so we get to that point of meeting all these freaking stupid ass characters
All at once,
all at once.
with no backstory.
I disagree with Colin's criticism here because, like, I think one of the things the movie has going for it is it's good writing, man. Like the plots of this is pretty good. If you really stop and think about it, it's pretty good. Like you have Lex Luthor, who's kind of this tech oligarch, right?
Hmm.
And he's super smart, super sharp, and
Most
borderline.
importantly, he's rich.
He's super rich, and he's just kind of jealous. Like he kind of sees, like, hey, and even him, like he's kind of conflicted, right? Like he's like, who really voted for you, Superman? You know what I mean? Like here you are, get in the way of things, and for you're right or wrong, your intentions may be good, but like which ballot were you on? So there's a lot of cool, interesting, intriguing plot lines here. And even going down to Superman, like he's conflicted with himself, right? He's trying to figure it all out and he's trying to piece together like what's my purpose? Why did my parents send me here? So it's to me it was really good writing.
Yeah.
Like if you take a step back, remove all the modern day politics from it all. Like it's pretty good. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was interesting, intriguing.
So from a Lex Luthor standpoint, he's a jealous little bitch, and freaking just because he's rich, he's going to challenge Superman.
Correct.
So
They bring that up very much later.
right.
But it's oozing out of him. We see it in like the various talk shows that he goes on to try to
Right. And
shit talk
so
him.
there are governments that in a way support Luthor,
Hmm.
and the way that that's gone about is fine, good writing, whatever. But him as the billionaire freaking tech guru, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and then him having his little freaking minions there in the control room with him. This might be a hot topic, but our hot take. I actually did not enjoy the whole freaking gaming freaking bullshit. It was cheesy, it was corny, freaking I like when I saw those multiple scenes of him controlling the spoiler, I guess, clones. um I was literally visualizing a freaking Xbox controller that entire time doing freaking, XB, R1, L2, freaking all that bullshit. I was just like, oh my God, I get,
We get it.
it is clever writing. I will say that, freaking studying his every single move. I get that. I respect that, but it was cheesy for me. And I couldn't
Yeah, man.
get behind it, but it did help the storyline some.
Yeah, Lex
Fair enough.
Luthor spent a lot of time learning that frame data. Like
Did you
he
like the
studied the
whole
neutral.
Colin? Did you like the whole recording plot taking place from the parents to?
I did like that. I did not like the characters or the actors who played his parents. So Bradley Cooper and the freaking other chick, and she was freaking in Westworld.
Yeah.
But whatever her freaking name is. I wish they had somebody. Not that Bradley Cooper hasn't played serious roles, but in this particular case, I think they needed to pick a different actor.
Yeah.
Actress.
So his parents are almost always depicted as being a lot older whenever Superman like interacts with like past messages from them. And it's almost always just Jor-El
Yeah,
Like, we don't see his mother. It's almost always just his father.
right.
So having both of them there is
It,
unique in a way.
it was unique, and I appreciated it, but like you just said, we've only seen the father for the most part. So like, part of me is thinking like, what if we just brought Kevin Costner back to play a dad?
Oh, that'd be a fun little Easter egg.
Yeah, like it's not saying like, oh, these two worlds are the same, or maybe they're different universes, or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah,
But I enjoyed Kevin Costner's version of playing dad,
sure.
but
But
not the human, like the Earth version. I'm
mhm,
talking Krypton father.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
hmm
Okay, moving on.
But moving on, uh, message gets leaked, and naturally, as like immediately after Superman just saved a bunch of people and was there with the Justice Gang, this comes out, and everybody in the crowd's just like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, has everything just been a ploy to like have us lower like our guards or whatever, right? And Superman doesn't acknowledge the crowd, but he's talking to the Justice Gang. He's talking to Mr. Terrific, Miss Green Lantern, and Hawk Girl, and they go into a building. They seal it off from outside view, and they question him, and Superman immediately talks to Mr. Terrific, and it's just like, is there any way this could have been doctored? And Mr. Terrific just like explains it away. It's just like the world's best like forensic people have already like ripped this thing apart. It is definitely true. And I'm like, really? Like that seems like a really quick turnaround to be like, yeah, no, all of our tech bros just like immediately deduced that this was in fact all correct, and somehow all of this just like immediately invalidates everything that Superman had done for the planet like prior to this moment.
I mean, I don't think that's true. They don't really show. I mean, they
They
show.
don't show anybody in the crowd actually going to his defense. They all turn on him
I mean, I don't.
immediately.
Yeah, and that initial crowd, but like I think it's kind of implied that he still has supporters, right? I mean,
Sure.
at the end of like the kids like waving the flag and all that. So like I don't. I think it's just supposed to. For me, it showed that there was just this internal conflict and kept the plot moving along. Where it's like, okay, now the government is like, okay, maybe we really need to double check and dot our I's and cross our T's here to make sure this is like we have a way to combat this.
Yes. And Superman being Superman is just like, okay, I'll turn myself in. Like, show that I'm not a threat to the government and for like, the human race in general. And the government immediately turns him over to Lex,
Yep.
which is exactly what he wanted. And then we are given further information into his little pocket dimension, his teleporter tech that we saw prior. But now it's kind of more fully explained that, yeah, Lex kind of accidentally / on purpose ripped a hole into reality.
So this is where I started agreeing with Colin. Once you get to the pocket dimension thing, it was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Like this is what you
Thank
came up
you.
with. Like
Well,
I don't know.
so
It
DC's
didn't
always
work for me.
had pocket dimensions because
Name one other film where they do it, Kenny.
the negative zone, like that's always been like a big thing for Superman.
I don't know.
Nobody's gonna know what you're talking about.
No one probably does, and I don't even know if I'm giving it the same correct name, but that's where Superman puts his problems that he himself have trouble dealing with. I'm going to put you in a dimension that you can't escape from. That's where he shoved the Doomsday, because Doomsday kicked his ass so hard.
is a very small population of the planet that knows anything about what you're talking about. Most of the people have only just seen the freaking Henry Cavill movies for Superman, or even some of the older generations seeing Christopher Reeves. But not one single time in those films are we talking about freaking dimensions or shit.
Well, watch the animated stuff then. I don't know what to tell you
That's
because they
what I'm
use it
saying.
there.
Nobody's paying attention to that shit. It just goes to prove like DC
Uh,
needs to step up their game. That's
I
all I'm getting
yeah,
at.
I do agree with you, here, Colin. Like to me, it didn't work. I guess. I mean, it didn't work for me. I'm happy that it worked for
It
you,
did, but it
Kenny.
didn't. I'll say that. Continue.
I thought it was kind of weird. And then I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but once we get to the black hole thing, I was like, come on, seriously? So Superman's now more powerful than a black hole?
well, even he's has issues with it, but the whole like. So this is going back to the whole thing where back in the 50s when Superman was new, they literally gave him a power every week that had never been seen before. It's like, okay, he can just talk to animals today. Or, oh, hey, if I fly around the earth in the opposite direction of the rotation, we'll go back in time. Like, that is stuff they did.
Yeah.
But here we see him, I guess, skipping ahead, we see him use his, like, frost breath, his super breath, to
Yeah.
propel himself away from the gravitational vortex known as a black hole, which is literally the strongest instance of gravity in our known reality.
Yeah. So this is where it kind of loses me down here. Like, I'm fine with like the plot of everything that takes place there, and we can talk about that now. Like he gets arrested. They kind of put him in the cells, and everyone's wondering like, well, how are they going to keep him there? Well, what's his name? Metamorpho?
Metamorpho. Now, they never. Do they actually call him Metamorpho?
I
No.
don't know, but
Because they never bring up his name as far as I remember. But, this kind of side character that is able to change his body into any known element, which is a cool kind of gimmick, right? But that allows him to become kryptonite.
Yep.
So that's why Lex in particular has him locked up, because this is all part of his master plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the poor like shawarma guy lose the Russian roulette on his second try. Man, that's gotta suck. But that probably hurts Superman like the most, of like, okay, the random civilian that fed me a sandwich one day was enough interaction for Lex Luthor to be like, you sit in this chair while I point a gun to your head, to try to get information out of Superman and make him feel bad, like real bad, right? So the whole reason why Metamorpho's even going with this is because he also kidnapped his son and is holding him hostage in a separate cell, right? Now, after street food vendor guy dies, Metamorpho's just like, if I don't help Superman, they're just going to kill me and my son anyways.
yeah,
So then we see them go back and forth with
the big breakout.
the big breakout. But before that, we see some more interaction with some of the other, I guess, I don't want to call them like main characters in Superman, but Jimmy Olsen is pretty well known. The kind of other reporter that isn't Clark Kent or Lois Lane in the Daily Bugle, like the only other two that are named being them, right?
Yeah.
Is an active friend of Superman and Lois Lane, and he knows their relationship already because he's not dumb. And
Played by Lawrence Fishburne. Is that who that was? Yep.
maybe,
Pretty sure.
anyways, he has been interacting with his ex. Now, his ex happens to be Lex Luthor's current girlfriend.
How'd you feel about all that, Colin?
I think they played it up.
Did you find it
Do
It's
you
su-
stupid?
want? Do you want? All right, let's go. I'll go.
Oh
Give us
God.
the rant.
Here's my rant. So the whole ex-girlfriend thing was freaking, in one hand, childish and freaking just dumb as fuck.
Is it too real for you?
Yeah, in a sense, it
It takes you out
literally
of the film. Like
it
this is the
took me
part
out of the film, and definitely I just saw the younger generation
being
applied
represented
to
to
today,
her.
and that was part of it. Is like a lot of the modern stuff that we see today out in the world, like hashtag this, hashtag that, or somebody just walking, freaking
Taking a selfie.
taking a selfie every single freaking second, or taking a picture of their food and posting it to their social media.
Man, you really hate influencers, don't you?
I'm funny,
Funny.
funny,
We
funny,
technically are. So,
technically. So
you've lived long enough to become the thing you hate.
yeah, I understood that reference, by the way. No, so like seeing that, I really just I I hated it. It really bugged me, and the fact that they were doing hashtags of what they freaking call Superman, super shit or something, hashtag super something.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that was a whole different thing, right? Because they had like the troll farms.
Yeah.
Didn't Lex Luthor have all that
right?
going on?
Yeah.
Of monkeys with
So that once
mind
again, that
control
was
helmets on.
that's another like modern politics. There was way too much modern politics involved. But
I will say this to finish my rant. I don't think this particular film, I'm not going to speak for you all, but I will say this generally. I don't think this particular film was directed at my generation. It was definitely directed at to the teens now,
I didn't
because
I didn't think about that.
they are definitely the ones that do the hashtags and all that shit. And I'm just like, okay, I'm having a conversation with you and you go hashtag LOL. Like, I'm not going to respect you as a person.
Okay. Yeah, that might be a generational gap because
Right.
even me, who's I guess more so than I guess you two, have spent so much more time playing video games on the internet. I have had to deal with leet speak. I've had to deal with hashtags. I've had to deal with
What's leads big?
oh, that's like some Counter Strike stuff where you're replacing like vowels with numbers and
So basically,
it's
the
its own
younger
thing.
generation now in the real world are freaking just talking in uh, tongues, essentially, not even using their own words. They're using acronyms or hashtag this or freaking something as bougie. They're making up their own freaking words. And like, keep in mind,
I mean,
I
bouge
work
is a word.
the
right?
industry I work in. I'm surrounded by teenagers a couple times the year. That's maybe it came out wrong, but like they work for me essentially. So hearing all this stuff like every year, freaking a new trending word or something like that, and I just cannot get behind it, and I deal with it every day. And then I go sit in a movie theater and see that same shit on film. I'm just like, this world is doomed.
Colin is becoming like old man yelling at clouds like that particular.
I'm gonna be the
on.
old man. I'm gonna be the old man sitting on my front porch when I'm older, like, you damn kids, get off the lawn.
Oh gosh.
And then I'm gonna unleash my dog, and they're gonna freaking tear their leg off, and then I'm gonna get sued. I'm like, well, they're on my lawn. That was self defense.
He's just joking, everybody.
Yes. Well,
Hashtag JK lol. Yeah, I hate myself for saying that. By the way,
yeah. So
moving on.
moving on. Metamorpho realizes that Lex is very evil, and Superman has been nothing but honest to the world, frankly, because even Metamorpho knows what Superman's deal and realizes that it's like, hey, man, if I get you out of here, can you save my son? And he's just like, yeah. And they have a conversation and be like, I need like the radiation from a sun to be able to heal. Like after he stops being kryptonite for the moment, it's just like, well, why aren't you healing? And it's just like, well, it's because of this. And Metamorpho actually has like a really good scientifically kind of sound idea. It's like there's no sun in this pocket dimension. but I am able to literally create every element that makes a sun. So I'm going to
Yeah.
make a tiny sun,
See, I thought it was cool. I don't know.
and like that
Little small
works.
things like that were cool, but there's also little
But then,
small
like,
things that
all of
like
those people that are like near him are just like, he's trying to do something.
yeah.
Like, they immediately tried to rat him out, and it's just like, man, you all know what happens to snitches. This is why you're in jail.
And you snitch on Superman.
And you're snitching on Superman. Like, really? Um,
What did you like? What did you expect the outcome would be?
I don't know. For everybody that literally just had like a micro sun, like flash bang them. The
No,
fact that
no,
any
no.
of them
That's
were
not what
still
I.
able
No,
to see is its
that's not what I
entire
meant.
thing.
What I'm
But
saying is like you're all in these isolated prison cells. You clearly don't want to be there. So if somebody's willing to do something to help break you out, you think you would encourage that kind of behavior. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not going to speak for you all. But if I saw somebody making a micro sun in a freaking dimension that has no escape, I'd be like, yeah, let's fucking all die for sure. Or at least get us out of here somehow by making a micro sun. Then heal Superman and he can help us get out. I'm all for that.
yeah, but I think at this point everybody was too afraid of Lex, which is wild, I guess, also in its own sense. They also don't describe how long some of these people have been in this prison,
No.
just that they're there, right? It's like this is where Lex sends his problems that he doesn't want to deal
And
with.
one of
Like
was an ex
one
girlfriend.
of them was an ex-girlfriend
yeah.
that made a blog post about him, and he's just like, that blog post wasn't very flattering. Jail. To the pocket dimension you go.
Good shit.
So yeah, they break out, and Superman is still a little weak. We see him basically struggling to fight off like the random just other people that Lex has hired, and they tried to establish earlier with Mr. Terrific and Lois when they tried to like enter the dimension that's like, okay, if you take a dip into this like interdimensional river thing, you're going to get atomized. Well, we see Superman just
does, and
do it.
Yeah,
And
well,
same with the other random guys.
yeah.
Like they immediately invalidate just a couple of their like writing points, but
Yeah, they just spent too much time in the pocket dimension.
yeah,
I don't know. They spent too much time in there. Like once they get out of it, the movie picks back up for me.
sure.
What was he goes back to Kansas, right? Does he immediately go back to Kansas?
Yeah, so we see Mr. Terrific basically give Lois his little hovercraft thing, and because of
Because he's trying to close it, right? He's trying to stop the.
he's trying to figure out what's going on, he has to be the one to watch the portal because he's the only one other than I guess Lex that has a chance of even holding this thing at bay. Uh, but Lois takes him to Smallville, to his parents' house on the old farm. And this is another bit where it's like, okay, this is a pre-established world. Clark has told Lois that, like, I'm from Smallville. I got parents that raised me up on a farm. And he gets dropped off there, and Martha and John take care of him the best way they know how.
And I really appreciate this part of the plot too. Like,
Sure.
so leading up to this, like the conflict internal with Superman was like, am I good? Like, what's my intention here?
It's like,
I have
am I what
like
my parents want me to be?
exactly. And then he sits down with his dad, and his dad's like, listen, like it's all about
It's not
your
who's
action. I can't remember the right quote, but it's really good. It's like it's all about your actions, right?
Yeah, it's not who your parents want you to be. We're here to guide you for you to make your own mistakes and for you to learn. We're just there to pick you up out of the dirt when you do make those mistakes. And granted, he said this in a much more elegant way, but it's just like you are who you are through your actions and
Yeah,
through your
yeah.
beliefs,
It's
not
not
through
about a
what other
recording or what
people.
other people. It's about
Yeah,
your own internal beliefs and your actions and all that. I thought that was a clever plot. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a good
It was
arc.
a really good, like, it was everything that Superman needed in the moment, and it worked out. So with his new slash regained confidence, he goes and has to now deal with either the Bavarian army reinvading, or stop the wormhole that is ripping apart Earth. And it's just like, well, I can't be in two places at once. So basically, Hawk Girl and Green Lantern go save the country, while Mr. Terrific and Superman are in Metropolis.
Yep.
So,
Which
get,
leads us to Colin's probably favorite part is we find out who Hammer is.
yep.
So Superman's fighting Hammer.
And the engineer at the same time.
And the engineer. And we find out who's behind the mask. Who is it, Colin?
I'll let Kenny take over.
Yeah, so the person behind the mask is Clark Kent. So yeah, Ultraman is a clone of Superman, which is why they were able to get around the Fortress of Solitude's defenses earlier, because it had to be somebody with the same DNA structure as Superman. Basically, you have to be a Krypton to get into.
What did he end up saying? He like found out he got a hair or some bullshit like
Yeah,
that.
it's like, he combed enough of the battle scenes where he found some hairs or some tissue damage and was able to recreate Superman. Granted, an imperfect one, because this particular Superman is very stupid, but thus is programmable. So this is where we get all the tech bros being able to kind of be like, oh, do A4 to do your punch, or A1, I think is the big one that he keeps screaming over and over, because it's just him like pummeling
Red X,
Superman
Red
into,
X, Red X, Red X, Red
yes,
X, over and over and over
yeah,
again.
fireball forward. So we see all that happens, but then we get like a big moment of brain versus brawn, right? And that was Lex's big thing. It's just like, I'm smarter than you. This is why I'm able to beat you, because I've been able to meet your brawn with my brain by making a clone of you that is as strong as you are, but it's directed by my actions, right? But then Superman like finally realizes that every time that he's fought this guy, there's these weird floating camera balls everywhere.
Yep. So Superman has an ace up his sleeve.
Yes, called crypto. And
Let's go play fetch.
Let's go play fetch, right? And in that moment, they had built up to it a little bit that crypto is this hyper energetic dog, because he is, and has dog tendencies. It sees a ball, it's going to go get the ball, and that's what it does. It proceeds to devour each of these little camera spheres, and all of his little tech bro screens start popping off because they can't watch the fight anymore and can't predict what Superman's about to do if they don't have visual cues to go off of. So then the fight just like immediately turns around into Superman's favor. But then we get some interaction with Ultraman where, I guess undirected, he's just beating the crap out of him a couple of times. And then through plot points, Superman has to dislocate his own arm to chuck Ultraman into the pathway of a descending metro bus that then forces him down into the black hole that they are fighting above, because we're back into that pocket dimension thing. And because this Superman is not smart enough to know that he can just use his super breath to escape the gravitational forces, I guess we're going to have to assume he dies off screen, because you see his face being like, "Ah," as he's falling into the thing, and then they cut away and you don't see him actually like get like spaghettified.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hate to admit, the more I'm thinking about this movie, the less I like it.
Well, I'll stop thinking then, because we then get our big confrontation scene between Lex and Superman, where it's just like he's going off about how he's the center of attention, how despite being an alien, that he has garnered the respect of the entire planet. And that is something that he wasn't able to acquire because he, being Lex Luthor, was always kind of jealous of people like Galileo and Isaac Newton, people that were able to make lasting marks in history for their genius. And he never had that kind of credit despite all of the stuff he's done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, all of, like, this entire movie is just a revenge plot because Lex Luthor is a very jealous guy and could really use some therapy. This guy would rather rip apart the planet than go to therapy.
Which one's cheaper?
Well, when you're a billionaire, it doesn't matter. Money's no object, right? So
That's true.
the therapy, clearly.
Not for me. I'd rather rip the whole apart, the world apart. No.
Oh gosh.
No.
But yeah, uh, then each of the various problems in the plot at this point have been solved, and we get a big like climactic romance scene with Lois and Superman doing the whole Superman liftoff thing as they kiss and basically officially go out. And I forget his name, but the guy that actually runs the Daily Planet just goes up to Jimmy's like, "So how long have they been a thing?" And Jimmy's just like, "About 3 months or so now."
I really like the ending of the movie though. So he goes back to the fortress,
Hmm.
and it's like they play the highlights for him, the family highlights.
Yeah.
The robot's like, oh, he really likes the real. I can't remember. The
He
exact
really
wording.
likes the recordings of his parents, and it's the same sort of line that they use at the beginning of the film with his Kryptonian parents.
But now
But now we
it's
see Martha and John
from Kansas.
Yep.
and like his like
Hey, how
family, like
wholesome. I
it
love
was
it.
very wholesome. It's very like they're just playing like the home movies
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love
on
it.
like a hologram kind of thing because
Oh.
it's clearly just like a VHS
Yeah,
recording.
I liked it, man. It had good. It had
It was a
music.
good wrap
I,
up.
I
It was
did
good. It
enjoy
was a good
that.
ending. It was a
I
really good
enjoyed
ending.
that. That was a nice little plot twist. Not really a plot twist, but it's a nice little taste of home
Yeah,
for sure.
and then frankly they ruined it by having Kara come back. Like you get this sweet moment, and then Supergirl shows up, and it's be like, "Hey, thanks for watching Crypto for
Yeah,
me
don't
while I
forget
was
about
busy
Supergirl.
getting
Yeah, you're
drunk
right.
on a different planet because
You're right.
because of how Kryptonian anatomy works. I can't get drunk on Earth because of how the yellow sun works. So I got to go to a planet with a red sun that affects my biology in a different way, which, if you don't read the comics, makes no sense to anybody."
Which brings me to my point.
And then the movie ends.
Yes. Essentially, they bring in Supergirl, played by freaking what's her name, freaking Wilcox or Milcox, whatever her freaking name is, Millie Alcock. I know it was something like that.
Maybe.
It was
Sure.
announced that she would be playing Supergirl, and I'm not opposed, but I guess that was just a little cameo for future film, right?
If they make like a Supergirl film.
Right. And so, I didn't hate it, but I thought that part was cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
But to see the fact that Crypto was crazy as hell when Superman was around, only for her to come in and that basically explains it.
Yeah, Superman was dog sitting
Right.
the entire movie.
The entire freaking
Where's my dog?
Where's my dog?
but yeah, overall for me, I guess one topic that we neglected to mention, the score honestly was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't blow me away, like I wasn't blown away like, for like an Inception or Interstellar or something like that.
Sure.
But it was okay. And then the very ending, where they play is that Iggy Pop or whatever, that song,
Mm-hmm.
that was okay by me. I didn't hate it. The score was probably more like a 6.5 out of 10, 7 probably. So it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of wrap this up a little bit, um, the movie's it's not great. I'll repeat myself. Like, it's not super by any means. I thought it was a decent watch. I thought it was a fun watch. I'm very curious on what's gonna come from this. Like, I don't think it's enough to build a whole franchise off of. I truly don't. And Kenny, I can see in your eyes like you might disagree with me, but so I mean, I know everyone was very hopeful of James Gunn taking that role. Like maybe it would be. I just don't see it, man. I don't see it.
I think it has the chance. And the problem is, it is still early because we don't have much of James Gunn's DC material to work off of. Like the problem is with DC and always has been is that as soon as their films don't work, they just change directors. So you don't get any sort of consistent vision, right? So that's why
Yeah.
everything is kind of all over the place.
They changed directors and they change
They
characters.
change
They
characters, they
go to a
change
different film.
writers, they
All right.
do everything.
Yeah. They need to stick with a particular set of writers and a director, kind of exactly what you just said, and literally just apply their mindset to each individual character and expand on, minor characters like we were saying before.
Yeah.
And I think they will find, this is my opinion,
They will
probably
find their
yours too, they will
success.
find more success and
Yep.
not throwing or jamming content down people's freaking throats, unlike Marvel. This is what they freaking did, which seems to be
Which I think is why they are actually steadily improving while Marvel is kind of declining. Because they see what's worked for Marvel and what hasn't worked for Marvel. So now they're just going the route of, okay, what's worked for Marvel? Let's avoid the stuff that isn't working for them currently. I would say that, if they do want to go a route where they make this into like an expanded universe, it has that same sort of potential that watching like that first Iron Man film did. Like, we didn't know it was going to become this whole grand thing until afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you to an extent, but I feel like I don't know, man.
would you
I
would
just you
We
can't compare it to
live in
Iron
a
Man 1. It's just not, there's no comparison there.
well, I'm talking about just like the initial setup, not in terms of like movie to movie, right? But in terms of what they did for their franchises, being Marvel and DC, like the stripping it all the way back
Even
to the
like
bare
even
maximum.
taking the broader universe out of it. I mean, do you think this could be a trilogy with the same actor? Like, do you think it was good enough to make 3 or 4 of these movies?
I think so. It did well enough and
in
made
the
its money back.
domestic box office, they made their money back and then some. That's
Yeah.
just domestically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And all three of us have chipped into that box office, and
No.
clearly the U.S. agrees that it was a
Yeah.
good film. Now, here's my question for you all. We paid freaking X amount to go see this movie. Would you pay that amount again to see the movie, or would you wait until it came out onto a streaming platform?
I'd wait for streaming.
So it wasn't that good.
Well, that's my point. Like, yeah, it made a lot of money, but I feel like that's kind of like the Jurassic Park trap or the Jurassic World trap. Like,
Yeah.
people went to go see it because it's Superman. Was it good enough to make a trilogy off of it, or is it one of these things like we'll wait 5 years or 10 years and just make another one with a whole new cast and writer? And does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the most likely scenario. Like, I don't think it's good enough to build a broader universe off of, and I don't think it's good enough for them to keep all this cast together for like a trilogy. I just don't. It was a fun watch. It was cool. It was exciting. I just I just don't see it, man.
What if? No, Kenny, you're about to say something. I kind of
Okay.
cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I would love to see this particular Superman and this cast get a penguin treatment where HBO picks them up.
Literally take the words out of my freaking mouth. What if they did some kind of mini series through HBO or some other platform
Yeah.
and they take more or less major slash minor character from that universe and did something like that? Basically,
Yeah.
what Marvel did, but they need to apply the writing for the Penguin to that particular character or characters.
Well, yeah, at least that level of detail and care, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because
Like there was in the Penguin, it's fair to say like that show was freaking
it
phenomenal.
was a great show, and the writing showed that they actually cared about what their people were doing within their own universe. Like they didn't present the Penguin as some fool like he is in like the animated cartoons.
Right. Right. Right.
Like they actually made him like a legitimately scary villain.
Yeah. Legitimately. And like exactly like in the live action with like Danny DeVito it comes to mind. Like that was
Sure, it's classic,
it's a
but it's also
classic
he's a goofball.
goofball. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So if they freaking just did that same care and applied that to like a mini series on some platform, then I think more people get into that particular universe, DC universe,
Hmm.
obviously, and they can just, make movies with involving those characters, and, and we already know like their origin story because we don't really know the origin story of Hot Girl. It's complicated for sure,
It is. It's a mess.
but
It's
maybe
especially a mess when, a particular Green Lantern isn't involved, but
right. I mean, I wouldn't say we need to do like a Green Lantern origin story, but at the same time, I don't know. There's more than Superman, The Dark Knight, and Wonder Woman.
yeah.
Get Aquaman.
Or the Flash.
Right. I mean, they already did
Or
some shit with they
Cyborg
did
or
that with the Flash, yeah, for sure. But he
I
ended
kind
up,
of like where you're going,
Ezra,
Colin.
Ezra, whatever the hell his name was, ended up getting in some, some trouble with the law. So we don't really go into that. But
yeah.
fuck that dude.
I,
Um,
I kind of like where you're going, Colin. I wish they would have like got all these DC characters and made struck some huge deal with HBO and just made a series for each one of them,
Right.
and then put some like
The thing is with that is it is a hard pitch for shareholders and the people that actually fund that stuff if you don't have any proof.
I don't know.
This movie was the proof that they needed to be like, okay, these characters garnered money. We can invest now.
so here's my question. Do any of these particular characters in the DC universe are any of their rights not being able to share kind of like for like
It's like a
Spider-Man
Sony
with
thing?
Sony and all that? Like are there any characters that
I don't believe so.
right. So
It's not as
if it's
well
free
documented.
range, if you will,
Yeah.
then they should take advantage of that. I'm sure nerds like us will eat that shit up, and
Hmm.
then we can get on our podcast a year from now and either talk shit about it or amplify how great it was.
Sure.
That's
So you want Disney to buy it all?
I do not want Disney. I do not want Disney. Disney has their own. They have a lot to clean up.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah. Either way. Okay, I think that was a pretty good wrap up. Everybody thought that this film was at least a pretty good watch, worth at least the initial investment. We want to see more out of it. We're not sure if we're going to get more, however.
We'll see
We
what the
shall
future
see.
holds.
I
Closing thoughts, or was that pretty much it?
that was going to be my segue to the whole ending bit, but okay, fine. Colin, where can people find
My
us?
closing thought is, like I said before, the movie was entertaining, but I don't think it was directed at my generation.
Okay.
Decent movie. Probably wouldn't go to the movie theater to see it again, but if it was streaming, I don't know. I'd watch it again. It's decent.
Yeah. I'm definitely watching it again. I just don't know exactly how yet.
Yeah. So where can the people find us, Colin?
You lovely people can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We are on most of the streaming platforms for your podcasts. And if you love what you hear, please give us a follow. Send a suggestion if you want, whatever floats your fancy. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us and can't wait to see you all again.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.